Okay, well, I am not an audiophile. I am a ham radio operator. Kilo Delta 4 Papa Whiskey. I'm going to leave off the last letter. Anyway, I don't really do ham radio much anymore. Thought about the perfect analogy, because when you talk about microcontrast, people are like, what the hell is microcontrast? It's like, I know what contrast is. What's microcontrast? The perfect analogy, because also let me give you a frame of reference too. I own like 16 Zeiss lenses. I love Zeiss. Zeiss, however, makes some crappy lenses. Zeiss's ultra-wide lenses, like 21 millimeters and below, they suck. The Otis lenses, which are obnoxiously expensive lenses, the 28 millimeter, the 55 millimeter Otis, and the 85 millimeter, obnoxiously expensive. That's no big deal. I got some really obnoxiously expensive lenses too, out of 400 plus lenses. People have given me a lot of crap about the fact that I said that those lenses suck. They say, how can someone say that Zeiss Otis sucks? That's the sharpest lens in the world! And those lenses are really sharp. So, now some of the best photography, you don't have to take my word for it. Some of the best photographic masters on earth have said the exact same thing that I've said. And I forget what famous photographer was that. So, like, what makes a lens exquisite? And he says the sum of all things. I forgot who said that. And it's true. If you judge a lens strictly based upon resolution or sharpness, you're an idiot. Talked about that a few days ago. It's okay. And I want to explain microcontrast in really simple terms people will understand. Because we want to talk about microcontrast, just like, for example, I was talking about the Zeiss Otis. If you actually go to the Flickr page for the 55 millimeter Zeiss Otis, it's not a half bad lens. $4,000, piece of crap. It is a really, really sharp lens. Well, that means it's excellent. You know, it's Zeiss quality. You must hate Zeiss. No, I've got like 18 Zeiss lenses. I love Zeiss. That lens sucks. So how could a lens that is really, really, really sharp also suck? It has really poor microcontrast. If you take a look at the black and white images from that lens, you'll notice that they suck. They lack tonality or microcontrast. Now, what the hell is microcontrast? I'm going to put it to you in really simple terms. Now, you know, when you buy a really expensive car, say Mercedes. Well, it's not really expensive. Like even a Bentley. It's like, wow, it's got really sharp audio. Yeah, let's say you're, one of the few people on Earth that's still listening to radio stations as opposed to CDs and MP3s. It's like, wow, I've got this brand new Mercedes and that's some really sharp audio. Right now I'm listening to whatever the hell station it is. Coming in 5x5. Really strong. Yeah, well, that is exactly the same as a really sharp image from a really sharp lens. Resolution is not everything. Well, what does that mean? You ever heard of this word called high fidelity? Like Jim Bob down the street, he is bragging about his $10,000 Blaupunkt speakers that he has for his home theater in the basement of his house. Yeah, you can get a really, really sharp audio. Let me repeat that again. Sharp audio out of like $100 set of speakers. Well, that's really sharp. You pop in a Blu-ray disc, you can crank up the volume really loud. It's like, wow, that's crisp and sharp. It's like, yeah, but what if you had finer tastes? It's kind of like the person that doesn't know the difference between like a $5 wine made for like, homeless hobos and that really expensive Chardonnay that's $1,000 a bottle. However, there are wines, of course, I'm not a drinker, that are inexpensive, that don't cost that much, and those are the secrets. Also in the lenses that I recommend, it's like, well, you can buy the really, really expensive stuff that's awesome. There is a lot of expensive stuff that's crap, kind of like the Otis lenses. They're very, very sharp, but they're sharp only. See, I'm not contradictory when I made that statement. Here's what it is. High fidelity. So you'll understand this, high fidelity. When you go to the, the IMAX theater, yeah, and they have the super high Dolby surround sound. I'm not an audiophile, okay? Obviously, I'm getting some of these terms wrong on audio, but high fidelity. Microcontrast is like high fidelity. You can have really sharp audio from your brand new Mercedes, like while you pop in a CD. Wow! Crank up the volume. The car's designed well. The speakers don't rattle. It's like, wow, that's really sharp. He's like, yeah, it is, but it still sucks. You got a really expensive car with a halfway decent set of audio system in it. Every person out there that's like a guru on audio is like, yeah, you just bought yourself a $100,000 car, but the audio still needs to be upgraded if you want really good stuff out of it. And then they rip the doors apart and they stick in some high fidelity speakers. And then they stick in a subwoofer in the back. And you get this surreal feeling like you're actually there. You know, high fidelity, I'm pretty sure that the definition of it is that high quality, true to life reproduction. Micro contrast is like high fidelity in a lens. Okay? High fidelity. Here's a question you can ask any of these YouTube asshat moron halfwits. It's like, why is a prime lens better than a zoom lens? You know, of course there are plenty of crappy prime lenses. I mean, there's no denying that. None of them will have an answer for you. They might give you a description, but they won't have. Just ask any of these top 20 YouTube photographers. Why is a really good prime lens better than, say, a really good zoom lens? Because the prime's better. It's like, no, you just repeated what I said. What's the answer? Why the hell a really good prime lens is better than a really good zoom lens? Well, it's got less glass in it. Okay, that's a description. We're getting closer, but that's not an explanation. That's a description. The easiest way to understand what microcontrast is, and this really is the perfect analogy, it's high fidelity, low SNR, intertonal signal. You know, it's like you're really there. You take a lot of pictures with a crappy zoom lens. It's like, wow, that's a nice lot of crappy black and white shots. And then you take the same focal length and a really awesome prime lens, like, wow, this really jumps off the page. Now, a lot of things have to do with the perception of the three-dimensionality of a shot. Much of it has to do with lighting, depth of field. There are other factors that cause the brain to think that an image has three-dimensionality. I'm not talking about that crap. I'm talking about the other dimension that cannot be added in Lightroom, cannot be added in Photoshop, and that would be, and I'm going to call this lens fidelity. Okay? And I'm just using that in lieu of micro contrast, which confuses everybody. People call it Zeiss pop. People call it the Leica look. People can call it 3D pop, lens pop. It's been called a lot of stuff. Those terms have been bandied about since before I was born. And a lot of people ask me questions like, I saw Henri Cartier-Bressant's images from his Leica or whatever camera. It's like, you know, no matter what I do, I can't make my images have that perfect tonality. Now, there are some tricks in processing, obviously, in developing the film. But what he had that you don't have is those low element count, super awesome, you know, Schneider Kreuznach and old Contax or Leica lenses that even the most modern lenses today, you see, lens design, what you don't understand is, well, lenses have gotten sharper. There have been improvements in lenses. Zoom lenses drastically improved. Wide-angle lenses have drastically improved. We have vibration reduction now. Yeah, we have all the fancy coatings, blah, blah, blah. The coatings don't really matter that much. They do for high element count, exchange of light between elements as the light's passing between the elements, but really awesome prime lenses have not gotten better. In fact, I can actually quantify that they've gotten worse. You take a 50-year-old Leica or a Contax lens. These lenses are superior to equal focal length counterparts being spit out today. They are. Not wide angles, because the wide angles have gotten better. And I'm talking about normal focals between 35 millimeters and say like 105 millimeters, which is basically 90% of the lenses in back of the day. Those lenses are the tits. There is absolutely nothing made today by anybody that compares with that stuff. And in fact, they're reproducing that stuff today. Exactly reproducing it, because those lenses are incredible. Lens fidelity, that's what it is. Someone made an intelligent comment, I should have thought of this myself, since I'm a ham radio operator, is that, and I know this is a fact as a ham radio operator, because everything is not about the radio. I had some really expensive ham radios, like the ICOM 706 Mark II-G. Yeah, depending on how expensive it is. I had a large Kenwood. These radios, even though they're really expensive, let's put it in short. If you stick a $10 antenna on a $1,000 radio, you know what you have? You have a $10 radio. Let me repeat that so you understand it better. Now, the antenna would be synonymous with the lens, right? The radio would be synonymous with the sensor and the camera. If you stick, and this is a hardcore damn fact, ask any ham radio operator, if you stick a $10 crap antenna on a $1,000 radio, what you have is a $10 radio. Okay? You understand what that means? Yeah. Exactly. Do you understand that? Lens fidelity. Micro contrast is no different than audio when we're talking about. Because any of these modern cars you buy today, even if it's a Volkswagen or a brand new Toyota, you know, you turn on the stereo, pop in a CD, turn in a loud and clear radio station. Like, wow, that's so sharp. You crank the volume way the hell up, shake the car a little bit. That is sharp audio. but that is not high fidelity. You know, the reason why so many people are making serious money, like, you know, jacking and tearing off the doors off your brand new Toyota, your Beamer, your Mercedes, and installing some seriousness in there, is because people want that high fidelity or hi-fi experience on the audio. You know it, I know it. That is what an awesome prime lens is. Okay, it's like, well, sharpness is everything. What is it sharp? Is it sharp? Is it sharp? Is it? No, it's not. If you want to understand what makes some of these really awesome, and I try to recommend the cheapest, i.e. the best for the money. I mean, there's some awesome prime lenses that just cost a crap load of money. They cost a lot, like lenses, some contact lenses. But there are a lot of awesome, relatively inexpensive Voigtlanders, like the 58mm 1.4. You know, hell, it's only $400 damn dollars. It is lens fidelity. It's the difference between, you know, your stock Mercedes, your stock $80,000 Mercedes, and a stock Mercedes that's been taken down to, you know, the guy with all the tattoos, him and his homies, like, rip the doors off your brand new Mercedes, and they jack you up with some $1,000 Blaupunkt speakers and a subwoofer in the back. And I'm not talking about playing rap music and vibrating the doors in your car. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you pop in a CD after homie gets done with your car, you have that high fidelity experience, like, oh my God, it feels like I'm there. That is what micro contrast is. This is how a lens can be both sharp and shitty at the same time. Because your brand new Toyota, Mercedes, whatever, it's got sharp audio, but it doesn't have high fidelity. Oh my God! Some people are tone deaf. They're like, this is good enough. It's like, you're right. For you, it is good enough. But for the discriminating person with discriminating tastes, they want better. You know, you got that $3,000 camera and you got a shit lens on it. My recommendation to you is, well, you've got that really, really expensive camera. It's kind of like that person with a really expensive ham radio, but then he goes out and he cheaps on the antenna. In ham radio, for example, you know, your antenna don't come with your ham radio, okay? And you have 1,000 choices. A lot of people make their own, their kids, blah, blah. But you get that expensive radio, the first thing people care about more in ham radio actually is the antenna. They dream, you know, they buy the radio, but they're like, oh my God, I got this huge antenna. I mean, I can tune in the world. I mean, it's a 1-to-1 or a quarter wave, or it's a Yagi. It's a 5/8 wave Yagi where you can actually tune it in. You got antenna motors. You could actually tune in the discernible Yagi antenna, and you can bring up the fidelity of the signal that's being dropped, and also the transmission of the signal that's being repeated or talked to. Anyway, so perfect analogy: lens fidelity. That is what micro contrast is. I hope I made that abundantly clear, because Fat Tattooed Boy here knows more about lenses than the rest of these knuckleheads on YouTube photography channels combined. It's like, I hate him. Yeah, but is he right? Yeah, he's right. He also knows, but I hate him. I hate his person. Yeah. I'm not running a popularity contest, but I can guarantee you I know more than the rest of those knuckleheads do. And that is a perfect analogy. I was like, you know, I've been trying so hard for people to understand micro contrast. It's like, this is it. You know, I should have thought of this before. Lens fidelity. That is what micro contrast is. And I think I made it abundantly clear what the hell it is. Because there's sharp audio, but sharp audio is not good audio. There are sharp lenses. But a lens that is really, really sharp can also be really, really crappy. How's that make any sense? How can a lens be really sharp and crappy? That's contradictory. No, it's only contradictory because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. A lens can be both sharp and crappy. Like many zoom lenses. It's really sharp. How sharp is it? How sharp is it? It's really sharp, but it is not a lens I would use for ultimate, especially for black and white. Because black and white tonality is everything. Tonality is everything. Yeah. And I guarantee you that that zoom lens with like 20 plus elements, it has no image fidelity. It can be extremely sharp, but it has no fidelity, i.e. micro contrast, because those low gain signals are lost in that glass. There's no denying it. You can take black and white images between a really awesome prime at X focal and a really awesome, it's almost contradictory, a really awesome zoom lens at the same focal, and you look at the two, it's like there's no comparison. No comparison. Thank you so much for watching. If you like these videos, you can always drop a buck or two, make a donation, tell me to jump off a cliff. Tomorrow's my birthday. I could always do with a nice pizza. Or shortbread cookies. Yeah, the fat boy doesn't eat shortbread cookies. Yeah, let me take that back. Yeah, no shortbread cookies. A fruit basket. I love fruit, actually. Thanks for watching. Bye. You're supposed to say happy birthday, damn it.